My Lords, this bill addresses an abuse which has long been acknowledged. Baroness Barker asked us to think about the history surrounding this issue, but I would like to suggest that we should consider the context in which this debate is happening. It's against the backdrop of an international campaign to roll back women's rights and LGBT equality, and a campaign the ultimate purpose of which is to eradicate human rights. And it's a campaign that we see every day in our media as trans people are daily depicted as being somehow unacceptable. Today we are debating a very specific measure. It's about outlawing particular practice, conversion therapies, and it's needed. It's needed because, despite many noble lords saying that we have existing legislation which covers different practices, we know from individuals that these abuses go on. And not only that these abuses go on, they continue in two places which are of specific importance within religious settings and within psychotherapeutic and counselling settings. Two places in which people are particularly vulnerable. And it's for that reason that I think that the Noble Baroness's bill is an important contribution. Noble Baroness Noakes derided the testimony of people who've been through this and said it wasn't proper evidence. She said we must wait for there to be random control trials. There will be no random control trial in which those who've been subject to abuse are compared with those who don't. No ethics committee would ever agree such. So we have to rely on the testimony of individuals, and I think we should believe them. Secondly, my lords, there is a need for this because the profession of counselling and psychotherapists is one in which it is very difficult to have regulation. Noble Lord Alderdice, my colleague, has been trying for over a decade to bring about an agreement about regulation in that field, and he hasn't succeeded. Therefore, anybody can set themselves up as a therapist. And I think that that being the case, it is necessary for us in this respect to make sure that these practices are not there to be used abusively for individuals. Thirdly, religious organisations. It is important that we recognise that religious organisations can believe what they like, can say what they like, and to a large extent they can do what they like in the furtherance of those beliefs, provided that they don't cause harm. And that is where the Noble Baroness Burt's bill is trying to draw the line. And I think that there are many people who will benefit from that, not least the majority of members of religious organisations and faith who themselves wish to be free of allegations of abuse. Their religion, their religious profession of their faith doesn't depend upon causing harm to other people. They wouldn't ever countenance it. And very many of them wish to be dissociated from being tarnished with these practices. Finally, my lords, about freedom of speech. Individuals remain free to think what they like. Individuals can say what they like. Individuals are free to hate LGBT people. Individuals are quite able to say that we don't deserve to have equality in society. That can continue to be the case. They can even pray for us not to have equality. But you have to understand, my lords, as we have done in other circumstances, that prayer, particularly for those of us who've argued the case about free access, safe access to abortion, there are times and occasions when prayer has been weaponised as a political tool. And therefore I think, my lords, that we do need to question some of the assumptions that have been made about the actors in religious organisations always being benign. All this bill seeks to do is to make sure, particularly in situations where individuals are particularly vulnerable, that they are not subject to abuse. We know from past history that the psychiatric profession can be open to abuse and political manipulation All we're trying to do in this bill is to prevent those excesses and to make sure that everybody, no matter who they are, is safe.
Yeah.